A federal judge just forced the acting attorney general to hand over documents the Justice Department part for months to keep hidden unredacted Epstein files delivered by hand to a judge's chambers. This is a real turning point in a case that has been dragging on since April. Here's the full story. So let's back off. This all comes from a lawsuit filed back in April by Attorney General and journalist Katie Phang. Her case argues that the Justice Department under Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has been violating the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a law Congress passed and President Trump signed in November. Peng's argument is that despite the DOJ publicly claiming an unprecedented commitment to transparency, millions of files remain either missing entirely or heavily redacted, and the law requires the government to actually explain its redactions, which Peng says it never properly did. So, in June, U.S. District Judge Emmett Salvian sided with Peng, issuing a preliminary injunction ordering the DOJ to produce a batch of disputed documents or formally explain in writing why it could not. Some of what's in dispute include FBI interview records, including interviews with a woman who alleges then private citizen Trump assaulted her when she was a minor, which the FBI reportedly found credible enough to conduct multiple interviews. The DOJ has continued to resist releasing full unredacted versions of record like these. It got heated enough that Peng asked the court to fine Blanche's $1,000 a day for every day the files were not turned over, and Blanche's own filings pushed back hard, calling her arguments outlandish and sensational. That brings us to late July. On July 25th, Judge Salvian escalated things further, ordering the DOJ to hand over 10 specific disputed records in full, no redactions at all, for his own private in-camera review. That's a legal term for the judge reviewing sensitive material privately in his chambers rather than it going on the public records. Blanche had until July 30th to comply, and according to DOJ's own filing, that's exactly what happened. Hard copies were delivered by hand to Judge Salvian's chamber. Here's a detail worth noting. In that same filing, the DOJ admitted it had inadvertently redacted something as basic as Epstein's own email address in one of the documents. Whether that specific detail is an honest oversight or part of a broader pattern is exactly what Judge Sullivan is now positioned to determine, since he is the only one who's actually seen the unredacted material. So why does this actually matter? Because up until now, the public and even the court had largely been taking the DOJ's word for its parade on what these redactions were protecting. Names of the victim, ongoing investigations, that kind of thing. This is the first time a judge has actually been able to independently check whether those explanations hold up. There's something meaningful shift from trust the government words to prove it. And there's a political layer here too. Blanche's bid to become permanent attorney general has stalled in the Senate, partly because of pushback from Epstein survivors over how this whole process has been handled. Trump has said he will keep Blanche in the acting role indefinitely if needed, which means Blanche could stay in charge of this exact fight for a long. So a lawsuit that started in April has now reached the point where a federal judge is personally reviewing what the DOJ tried to keep hidden. Whatever Judge Sullivan finds in that private review could shape what the public eventually gets to see. I will be following this closely and bringing you the next development and the moment if it is confirmed. If you want to stay on top of this story, subscribe and let me know in the comments.